from information to trust and from trust to credit can be achieved, thereby significantly reducing the phenomenon of umbrella collection on rainy days. The system of managing banks. The interaction between German banks and enterprises has always been known for its long-term and close nature, so much so that banks are called butler banks. A German bank will accompany an industrial enterprise the entire process of decline and change from cradle to grave, from establishment to liquidation. Is on page a vivid portrayal of this relationship, against the backdrop of the transformation of large banks, the development of internet banking, and the increasing demand for resignation, elopement of publicly raised funds, exposure of sweatshop, and the spread of migrant labor shortage have become the external manifestations of the labor price crisis. It seems that the crisis in factor prices has arrived early. Coal, electricity, and the prices of resource goods such as oil, gas, water, land, and production factors such as labor are becoming increasingly uncontrollable, forcing prices to enter a second round of breakthroughs. On the one hand, China's production factors are already low, with industrial electricity prices only accounting for 4% of developed countries such as Japan and Italy, urban water prices only accounting for of international water prices. Labor productivity equivalent 2% of the X, but wages only %. Globalization has inherent driving forces for domestic production factor prices to align. On the other hand, according to Citigroup's latest conservative estimate, the overall cost savings of industrial enterprises due to price distortions were approximately trillion yuan, accounting for nearly % of GDP. The cost of production factors is artificially suppressed. Not only does it not reflect the true cost, but also artificially overestimates profits. Some scholars estimate that domestic enterprises will unreasonably save at least % of production costs as a result, assuming that the enterprises themselves absorb % of this product. Prices will also increase by at least %. Therefore, the market's reconfirmation of production factor prices is an insurmountable barrier. In fact, if prices are distorted, they should be reformed. But the reform of the price mechanism is hesitant. Reform faces difficulties and the inability to rationalize prices. The essence of price crises reflects the crisis of reform, and the inability to promote reform lies in ideology. If there is a problem with ideology, it is a crisis of ideology. Our country is a country with several levels of civilization and several days of complex IT, which cannot be compared to other countries. However, with knowledge at its peak and a superficial grasp of complex situations, using classical Western theories and thinking and methods under agricultural civilization to respond will undoubtedly encounter bottlenecks, making reform difficult. Therefore, the ultimate solution to the price crisis lies in the renewal of ideas. It may be a necessary condition for emancipating the mind to subvert cognitive inertia and the old truth standards with the idea of post-industrialization or even financialization. Even if We can keep up with the times in our thinking. The path of institutional reform remains bumpy, not to mention the resistance of some special interest groups to reform. The living pressure brought by global inflation alone has made it difficult to reconfirm the prices of production factors, let alone the fact that price reform is now facing two major. The knowledge contrast of four economic civilizations' lack of understanding of various economic phenomena, especially the abnormal operation in the financial field, has led to a lack of understanding of human knowledge systems. Reflection on the accumulation of human knowledge corresponds to the process of human civilization, while existing knowledge still remains in the summary and inference of past economic civilizations. So it is necessary to sort out human economic civilization and deduce the emergence and characteristics of new civilizations. The process of economic civilization is accompanied by the evolution of industries, and the earliest industry that emerged in humanity is agriculture. Animal husbandry predates agriculture industry, but animal husbandry has not been widely promoted. In a broad sense, animal husbandry belongs to agriculture, which corresponds to agricultural civilization. The basic elements of agricultural civilization are land and labor. Labor is the father of wealth and land is the mother of wealth. Other forms of industry such as handicrafts, commerce, religion, and service industries are subordinate and even considered to not create value. The understanding of wealth is very singular, and the purpose of competition between people and countries is primitive wealth. Without different values competing with each other, conflicts caused by religion do not fall within the scope of economic civilization discussed in this article. Agricultural civilization has lasted for thousands of years, and its knowledge can be effective for thousands of years. It is reasonable to say that half of the analects of Confucius has conquered the world. The rapid advancement of the Industrial Revolution has brought humanity into a new civilization system, namely the stage of industrial civilization. Work industrial civilization is fundamentally different from agricultural civilization. The basic elements of industrial civilization are capital and value, which are exchanged for the purpose of production. The general equivalent of exchange is currency, early gold and silver coins, later paper currency. After the emergence of paper money, the currency form expanded, and inflation became the social and economic partner. Humanity has in a deeper understanding of wealth. There have also been huge differences in understanding, with one faction starting from human labor, holding high the banner of labor value, and deriving surplus value is defined as labor value. Wealth, Ricardo's value theory, Marx's labor axiology, Lenin's and Stalin's socialism theory. The other school directly launches from entertainment. Mobile TV and online gaming competitions have emerged one after another, and even the Second Life allows people to live an alternative life, which is the product of young people's right-brainedness. Moreover, the right brain's counteraction and subversion of the left brain have already appeared. The separation of the real and virtual economy allows stock prices to no longer rely on physical performance but instead on imaginative space. Whoever has a good story can control expectations, and the stock price rises quickly. The emergence of Google culture, with its casual and entertaining work culture, calls for freedom to play and emphasizes entertainment. Feeling and wasting time correctly have instead become manifestations of efficiency. And such things precisely indicate the expansion of the development space of the right brain. See, continuing like this, the focus of the future will clearly shift from left brain to right brain. But this does not mean left brain. The brain will be abandoned. Practice is the only criterion for testing truth, and science is the primary productive force are still unchanging truths. Left-handed thinking methods such as logic and calculation are still in use. But the variables that affect the situation increase, and factors interact with each other. In addition, the weight of uncertainty factors such as expectations increases. As reform enters the deep water zone, scientific and rational thinking frameworks are actually constrained. Jumping out of the frame with right brain thinking may be more practical. Therefore, the two attractive forces of the aging left brain and the youth right brain are likely to launch a tug of war, so that the problem is no longer a multiple choice that is either left or right, and the solution will also become the middle way of both left and right and neither left nor right. This shift in mindset will drive turbulence at all levels of society, rapidly pulling society into a new era of business opportunities. On the one hand, as the focus of future society shifts from the left brain to the right brain, from rationality to sensibility, from technology to emotion, from the switch from efficiency to satisfaction will also shift the requirements for goods from functionality to ethics, from usefulness to entertainment, from one-way to interactive, and from material to spiritual. This change is not perceived through abstract thinking or rigid mode operations, but rather through personal experience and self-exploration. Free trials, free tasting, interactive is for home appliances, and sample rooms are gradually making experiential consumption mainstream, and online experiential marketing has enabled the domestic trial customer base to exceed 3 million. The comprehensive emergence of the experience economy indicates that why are we slow and fast in dealing with the issues of capital and finance? The subprime mortgage crisis finally made Bernanke uneasy. First, he cut the bank rate by basis points, and then the quasi-interest rate has been reduced to 2%. The practical action of saving the market first completely overturned its previously held belief that inflation is the primary goal of monetary policy, in sharp contrast to the rapidity of the rescue action. The U.S. Federal Reserve turned a blind eye to the foam and reacted slowly to the foam in the slow accumulation process of the housing market. Behind this policy's division reflects human alienation. Before taking over the role of the Federal Reserve, Bernanke was a non-foam theorist and also published an academic paper asserting that monetary policy is essentially powerless to foam. While his behavior in The subprime mortgage crisis was undoubtedly self-defeating. Also betraying his beliefs is his predecessor Greenspan, who was a disciple of economic liberalism in his college years. But once he took the baton of the Federal Reserve, he immediately changed his face and repeatedly intervened in the operation of the invisible hand with the visible hand of policy. 2 generations of Federal Reserve leaders have a dual personality in their bodies. Looking at the current Chinese economy, there is also a similar phenomenon of slow and rapid growth. On the one hand, in terms of capital, the regulatory response in finance and state-owned enterprises is swift and hasty. Huajin Company, less than 4 years after its establishment, has injected $1 billion into the 4 major state-owned banks. As for the latter's trillion yuan bad debts, they have been quietly wiped out by the central bank and the Ministry of Finance. China Investment Corporation (CIC), which had a lot of activity, started preparing in March and had already smoothly released its investment within 6 months. It even eagerly completed its investment in Blackstone in May as a foreign exchange investment company. Unfortunately, this investment not only failed to make a profit, but also paid tuition fees. It is not surprising that similar situations are also common in areas such as state-owned enterprise reform. On the other hand, there is a slow response in market construction and scientific coordination. The capital market has been open 4 years and is still a lame duck. The defect of the listing mechanism only of the market value, too few trading varieties, no short selling mechanism, etc., make the capital market have to endure the pain of no intermediate transition space. After years of procrastination on the Chi-Next board, small and medium-sized enterprises that are short of money have waited until the flowers withered. As for antitrust, there are many slogans and few actions. The anti-monopoly law was only introduced after years of